For a long time, I believed I was doing everything right. I prayed with faith, repeated affirmations, visualized, meditated, yet the doors remained closed. Opportunities didn't come, answers seemed distant. Then something shook me from within. I realized that God doesn't respond to words, He responds to vibration, and I was vibrating scarcity, doubt, urgency. Everything changed when I began to give thanks, as if what I so deeply desired were already real. It was no longer a request, it was an acknowledgement. This simple practice, inspired by the studies of Jacobo Grinberg, reconfigured my energy, and with it, my life. Today, I want to share this with you. But first, leave in the comments the phrase, "Thank you, God, because it is already done." Declare it with faith as a vibrational act. This phrase may be the turning point your soul has been waiting for. I know this idea may seem strange at first glance. After all, for years, we've been taught that to achieve something we must ask, insist, pray fervently. But none of that made sense to me. Until I discovered the work of Jacobo Grinberg, a Mexican neuroscientist who dedicated his life to understanding human consciousness and how it shapes reality. He went beyond conventional science. Grinberg proposed that the reality we experience is not something fixed or external, but a direct projection of our neuronal field, a field of energy that interacts with the universe and responds to the vibration we maintain. When I read this, something lit up inside me. I began to see that it wasn't a lack of faith blocking me, but the inconsistency between what I said and what I felt. That was the turning point. I stopped begging in my requests and started thanking as if I had already received. And little by little, the world began to reorganize itself around me. So what you'll see here isn't just theory, it's a lived practice, real and capable of transforming your connection with God and with life. For years, I believed my faith was strong. I prayed every day, recited affirmations in front of the mirror, read books on spirituality, attended lectures, did everything I could to align myself with something greater. Yet despite all that effort, life felt stalled. Nothing flowed as I expected. The doors stayed shut, and inside, a silent frustration grew. Only after a long time did I realize my mistake wasn't a lack of faith, but where I was vibrating from. What I called faith was actually contaminated with anxiety, scarcity, and fear. I prayed saying I trust, but inside I was trembling. I repeated I'm grateful, but I felt a tightness in my chest. I was living a faith disconnected from the real vibration sustaining my energetic field. And that is the mistake almost no one sees. Faith that still carries the weight of urgency is not faith, it's desperation in disguise. Jacobo Grinberg spoke about this deeply. He said our external reality is a projection of the internal neuronal field, and that field is shaped not by words, but by the vibrational state we hold continuously. In other words, the universe doesn't respond to what the mouth says, but to what the heart feels. And if the heart is saying, I don't have, it hasn't arrived yet, maybe one day. It is that vibration that shapes reality. Most people believe they're doing everything right. They pray, affirm, visualize, but they do so vibrating at a frequency of lack. Then frustration follows. But I'm doing everything correctly. Why isn't it happening? The answer lies in the origin of the vibration. If you do all this with a heavy heart, a restless mind, and a tense body, you're creating more of what you want to avoid. It was hard to realize this. I had to face that. Despite my beautiful words, my energy was saying something else. And that hurt. But it was also liberating. Because that's where the change began. I understood it wasn't about asking more forcefully, repeating more times, or exerting myself to exhaustion. It was about changing the inner state from which it all stemmed. True faith doesn't beg, it doesn't plead, it doesn't desperately demand signs. True faith recognizes what already is. And that recognition begins within, in a vibration of calm certainty, real gratitude, and connection with something greater that doesn't depend on circumstances. The invisible mistake isn't in the intention, but in the frequency. And when you start to notice that, you change. Because you understand you don't need to do more. You need to feel differently. You need to truly trust, and that can't be faked. Vibration doesn't lie. For centuries, humanity was taught to communicate with the divine through words, prayers, mantras, decrees, supplications. But what few understand is that the universe, and especially God, doesn't respond to the verbal content itself, but to the vibration accompanying it. That's why many prayers remain unanswered, no matter how beautiful or intense they seem. The internal frequency from which one prays is the real channel of communication with the divine. This understanding changes everything. Many people spend years repeating phrases like "I trust," "I'm grateful," "I receive," but do so with a heart full of doubt, a restless mind, and a tense body. Even if they say they trust, what they vibrate is mistrust. Even if they repeat they have already received, what they feel is absence. This energetic incoherence is immediately perceived by the quantum field, which replicates not the words, but the dominant emotional state. Jacobo Grinberg brought this principle to light by stating that the human neuronal field is in constant interaction with the external quantum field, and it is this interaction that shapes our experience of reality. This field doesn't respond to rational requests, but to vibrational coherence. If there's a contradiction between what is declared verbally and what is felt internally, the manifestation will be null or confused. God, understood here as the universal intelligence that permeates everything, responds to the vibration of what we are, not to what we try to convince with words. This is why so many spiritual practices end up reinforcing fear. They're performed from a vibration of lack, urgency, and insecurity. When someone affirms "I am prosperous" while still feeling scarcity in their body, the energetic field interprets the affirmation as a request, not as reality. This sends a message to the universe: I don't have it yet, I am not it yet, and that is what will be manifested. Changing this scenario requires a shift in perception. Prayer or affirmation should not be made as a desperate plea, but as a natural expression of inner certainty. The vibration of true trust is silent, serene, and steady. It doesn't shout, it doesn't beg, it doesn't negotiate with the divine, it merely acknowledges what already is, even if it hasn't yet manifested in the physical realm. This is the difference between asking and declaring. He who asks still doubts. He who declares vibrates certainty. The vibration of someone who knows it's already done is completely different from that of someone who is still waiting. And the universe, in its precise wisdom, responds exactly to that frequency. Therefore, it's not about how many times a phrase is repeated, but about who is saying it internally. When intention, emotion, and presence align, the vibration becomes pure. And it is that which opens doors words alone could never open. Among all spiritual and scientific teachings on manifestation and reality creation, one principle stands out for its simplicity and depth: anticipatory gratitude. Giving thanks before something manifests in the physical world is one of the most powerful vibrational codes there is. This simple act represents a leap in consciousness that not only alters internal perception, but completely reconfigures the energy field around you. When someone expresses gratitude for something they cannot yet see but feel as real, they are telling the universe and their own body that this reality has already been accepted internally. This generates a kind of vibrational coherence that the quantum field recognizes as truth. And, as Jacobo Grinberg's research shows, it is this internal truth that shapes external events. Grinberg stated that the human neuronal field is malleable and constantly reorganized by consciousness. If the mind can sustain a state of gratitude for something not yet manifested, that state becomes the matrix guiding perception and consequently reality creation. It's as if the person says, "I'm already living this," even though the senses have yet to capture it in the physical realm. Anticipatory gratitude isn't an exercise in illusion or denial of current reality. On the contrary, it's a vibrational acknowledgement that the process is already underway. This type of gratitude doesn't arise from lack, but from certainty. And it is precisely that certainty that changes the field's frequency, opening pathways, attracting opportunities, and generating synchronicities that once seemed impossible. Many people make the mistake of thanking only after they've received something, as if gratitude were a reward or protocol. But when you understand that reality is shaped from the inside out, giving thanks beforehand becomes not only natural, but essential. In this context, gratitude is a tuning tool. It aligns you with what you wish to experience. Energetically speaking, gratitude emits a high frequency associated with abundance, love, and presence. When someone enters a state of gratitude, even without a visible reason, they vibrate like someone who has already received, already achieved, already transformed. And it is this vibration that issues the command to the quantum field. This is what I want to perpetuate. Moreover, gratitude disarms the mental mechanisms of doubt, fear, and scarcity. When we truly give thanks, we are no longer tuned to "what if it doesn't happen," but to the certainty that it is already done. This internal shift is the real trigger for manifestation. Therefore, giving thanks before seeing is not just a spiritual choice, it is a vibrational decision that transforms how life responds. It is an act of conscious faith, a silent command to the universe, and a direct mirror of genuine trust in God and in the creative intelligence that sustains all. True transformation doesn't occur merely by changing one's discourse, but when there is coherence between what is said, what is felt, and what is lived. Energetic coherence is precisely that deep alignment between word, emotion, and body, a state in which the whole being vibrates the same message without internal contradictions. And when this coherence is achieved, the surrounding field responds almost immediately. Many people affirm positive phrases daily. They say they trust, that they're ready, that they're grateful, but their bodies tell another story. Shallow breathing, muscle tension, mental restlessness, restrained gestures. The emotion sustaining these words is often fear, doubt, or need. And as Jacobo Grinberg's studies demonstrate, it is this emotion, not the verbalized phrase, that activates the neuronal field and determines how the external quantum field will respond. The universe is sensitive to frequency, not form. That means it's useless to declare abundance while feeling scarcity or to affirm confidence when the body vibrates insecurity. This internal dissonance generates vibrational noise, and that noise blocks the natural flow of manifestation. Conversely, when the body relaxes, the heart opens, and the word is loaded with sincere emotion, a coherent wave is created that reverberates precisely through the surrounding field. This coherence doesn't demand perfection, only presence. It's not about feeling right all the time, but about being honest with what you feel and choosing to align with the highest possible truth in any given moment. When you declare, "I trust," and that trust is felt in the body as an expansion, like a deep, calm breath, then the field understands that this is an integrated reality and responds accordingly. Energetic coherence also redefines how you deal with challenges. Instead of reacting with fear or resistance, you begin to respond consciously, recognizing that each external situation is an internal reflection. With this understanding, there's no room for victimhood, only for vibrational responsibility. This doesn't mean blame, but rather power. the power to alter reality from your own inner state. Grinberg called this perceptual reorganization. When there is coherence, perception expands, and what once seemed distant or impossible becomes natural. The nervous system self-regulates, the mental field calms, and intuition begins to operate with greater clarity. Life ceases to be a battlefield and becomes a mirror sensitive to the state of your being. Coherence is therefore the silent language of creation. When the body feels, the heart confirms, and the word reinforces, everything aligns. And it is in that state that doors once invisible begin to open, not by effort, but by resonance. God, the universe, the field, whatever you call that intelligence, does not react to what is feigned, but to what is vibrated with truth. Among so many spiritual techniques, energetic practices, and manifestation routines, there is a simple ritual that, when performed with presence and truth, can completely transform a person's vibrational state: the ritual of conscious gratitude. It is a short but profound daily practice that aligns your internal field with the frequency of what you wish to manifest. And most importantly, it requires nothing more than time, silence, and intention. The ritual begins even before the day fully starts. Ideally, it should be done upon waking or before sleep, when the mind is still in a receptive state between alpha and theta waves, moments when the subconscious is most accessible. In those minutes, what is planted vibrationally expands easily. It's at this point that the neuronal field is most sensitive and malleable, as Jacobo Grinberg's studies indicate. The practice consists of sitting in a quiet place, closing your eyes, and simply breathing. The breath should be slow, deep, conscious. This reduces excessive mental activity, calms the nervous system, and prepares the body to enter a state of presence. Then choose a single intention. It's not about listing 1,000 desires or trying to control how something will happen, but about internally recognizing one living focus in your heart. It could be emotional healing, an opportunity, an inner change. What matters is that it feels true in that moment. With the intention chosen, begin the process of gratitude, but not empty or mechanical gratitude. You must feel it. The phrase "thank you, because it is already done" should be said or thought with emotional conviction. The rational mind may resist, saying, "But it hasn't happened yet." It doesn't matter. The body, by feeling it as if it were already happening, sends a clear command to the vibrational field. This is the reality I am aligning with now. This practice may last just 5 minutes, yet in those minutes, a profound energy reorganization occurs. The body relaxes, the heart stabilizes, the mind opens, and vibration rises. It is not an exercise in convincing, but in recognizing. You are not asking for something to happen. You are affirming it already exists in the subtle field, and that you are ready to receive it. Over time, this ritual becomes more natural. You begin to notice small shifts, greater inner peace, clearer decisions, synchronicities, meaningful encounters. The external world starts reflecting the internal world more accurately. And most importantly, you create a vibrational foundation of trust that no longer requires you to chase things. They start coming to you naturally. This is the power of a simple practice done with truth. It doesn't just transform outcomes, it transforms the being. And when the being changes, everything else changes with it. One of the greatest pitfalls on the spiritual path and personal transformation journey is attachment to control. The constant need to know how, when, and why something will happen creates internal tension that blocks life's natural flow. Many people believe they're trusting, but in reality, they're merely trying to control in a more sophisticated way. They pray, visualize, affirm, but inside remain trapped in the anxiety of, "It hasn't come yet." Letting go in this context is the true act of faith. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It's not passivity or resignation. It's an active choice to relinquish the mental and emotional rigidity that tries to dictate the paths the universe should take. When someone lets go, they are saying, "I trust that everything is organizing itself perfectly, even if I don't understand right now." And that vibrational trust is one of the most potent states for miracles and transformation to occur. Jacobo Grinberg addressed this when he explained that consciousness interacts with the quantum field through vibrational expectation. When there is anxious expectation, the field detects a signal of scarcity. The subliminal message is, "I don't have it yet, something's still missing." But when there is true surrender, the field interprets that frequency as a sign of completeness. It's as if reality is already ready to align with the emitted vibration. The act of letting go is profoundly counterintuitive for the rational mind, trained to control, plan, and anticipate everything. The mind believes it must be in command to ensure safety, but the security that control offers is illusory and exhausting. That's why letting go becomes a spiritual gesture, a voluntary renunciation of the illusion of control in favor of full trust in something greater. It is precisely at this point that the practice of anticipatory gratitude meets surrender. By giving thanks as if it is already done, one is not only vibrating certainty, but also letting go of attachment to the outcome. They live as someone who has already received, as someone who already is, and therefore no longer needs to force, demand, or rush. This state of vibrational neutrality, which is not apathy, but deep confidence, creates space for the new to arrive fluidly. Many of life's most significant manifestations happen when we finally stop trying to force them. Love appears when we're no longer desperately seeking. Opportunities emerge when we let go of the obsession with recognition. Healing comes when we stop fighting the symptom and surrender to the process. It is in this state of permission that reality reorganizes itself with precision. Letting go is therefore a sign of spiritual maturity. It is recognizing that the universe operates on levels beyond the mind's reach, but that the heart can feel. And when trust replaces control, everything that once seemed locked begins, naturally, to open. Now that you know this practice, all you need to do is live it, not as a magic technique, but as a commitment to your own vibration. It isn't about repeating words and expecting immediate results. It's about sustaining a new state of being, trusting before seeing, giving thanks before receiving, living as if already at peace with what is to come. Perhaps you're still surrounded by doubts, difficult circumstances, or old fears. That's okay. None of that disqualifies you. What matters is what you choose to vibrate from this moment on. Start small, set aside 5 minutes a day, close your eyes, breathe, choose a single intention, and say from your heart, "Thank you, God, because it is already done." If you apply this practice consistently, you will realize it's not the world that needs to change, it's your frequency. And when your frequency changes, the world responds. Subscribe to the channel to keep receiving content like this, which helps you reconnect with your inner power. And if this message touched you in any way, share it with someone who also needs to hear it. The vibration of truth multiplies when it is shared.